Welcome to my channel, guys. My name is Carlos with 3 A's. If you enjoy thrilling, blazing fast, action-packed racing in Automobilista 2, then this video is the right video for you. Spins, lockups, recoveries and close racing with a bit of rubbing and everything in between. Stay tuned as I guide you through my process adjusting to weather conditions, qualifying and winning a race. You will also see the process for participating on Racecraft online races. Let's check it out. So here we are, guys, for another Racecraft online race, OPE Racing League, with the P3 class at Curitiba International. So it's the Império endurance class cars, the prototype class 3 on this circuit. We do have a mandatory pit stop, so I need to pay attention to this. If I need 1 extra liter of fuel, this might be useful. And the weather will go from light cloud to medium cloud, so hopefully things will go from really hot to a little bit less hot. To enter a multiplayer race on Racecraft Online, we go to the browse multiplayer servers, and we can identify those servers because they will be called RCO. I'm just going to search for the track. It'll be easy to just find right here Curitiba. So this was the RCO practice server, and because we only have this split, we only have this server for the race. Sometimes you can get a few more servers if it's a very busy split. And on the website it will say which server will be available to you to race in your own split with the people that have a similar pace to you. So the lobby is filling up. I do have the current world record for this current track right now because I just did the hot lap and I actually improved my setup by looking at other world records. This is one of the most amazing features from Automobilista 2. So here we can learn from each other's setups, and it is always very useful to do so. Right now I think I'll need to open up the radiator a bit more.
Exit's clear. Okay, Carlos, we've got 18 minutes to set a lap.
I think now everything is up to temperature. Let's see. After warming up my tires on my first out lap, when I was crossing the start finish line on my first flying lap, I was able to do a very competitive qualification time.
You're in pole.
1 minute 14.8 seconds. Here I was doing some adjustments to my qualification setup. You guys can even pause the video later if you want to check out this qualification setup. It will be a bit close to the setup that I used to do the world record.
Okay, Carlos, 5 minutes to go, 5 minutes left.
After saving this setup, here I go. I only have 4 minutes left to do my last qualification stint. I will probably only have 1 shot at putting a better qualification lap, maybe 1 or 2 attempts at most. And one of the guys behind me, Mathieu, is only 3/10 behind me, so there are more guys able to do pretty quick laps. This is my full best qualification lap. The chicane makes the start of the lap very tricky, but if you are able to find a line to put the throttle down faster, you'll gain time there. The next corner turn 8 is one of the trickiest on the circuits because of the very smooth line and trail braking required.
2 minutes to go, 2 minutes.
Even ended up losing a bit of time on the delta, but now the next section of 2 corners will require a very good line and a very well balanced car in order to have a good exit speed. And here it is, my fastest lap of the qualification stint, and on this lap I'm only 1/10 behind my world record.
Sector 3 time is fast.
After that lap I decided to take a cool down lap and practice my entrance to the pits.
Brake temperatures look good.
Instead of just teleporting to them, here I brake at the tire wall, and I'm actually seeing if I can have any way of getting to the pits safely. Because sometimes if I miss the pit entrance, if I'm a bit distracted, I can mess up the race by not entering correctly into the pits. So I was almost able to match my world record on this qualifying session, which made me pretty happy with the setup. I believe that I've adjusted the setup from the hot lap context into the race temperatures and adjusted everything to the weather, and it seems I'm by far the most competitive driver on track right now. I was even thinking I will be racing against Rene, but Rene ended up qualifying in 4th place. So there are two guys that are also extremely fast and were able to adjust pretty well to these very hot conditions.
That's the end of the session. Pole position. Nice one.
Sometimes I need to be nursing the car a little bit because of the conditions of the tires. I'm thinking, what should I do to this setup, because I'm quite happy with how the setup went, but now, so 24 laps of fuel should be enough. I'm going to go a bit safer with the radiator opening. And for the tires, I'm not sure if I should gamble too much. I'm going to go on the safer side, of course. Wish me luck, guys.
The window opens after 1 minute, 30 minutes. Alright, Carlos, here we go. Don't fuck this up. Green, green, green.
Here we go, guys. I'm almost doing a burnout on these tires getting off the grid, but I'm able to start pulling away pretty quickly. Careful into turn 1. I was not sure how turn 1 was going to be because we are all very heavy fuel load. I think I was able to do a pretty good start. I was starting to pull away and to create a big gap very quickly in the first few laps of the race.
Great start, well done.
When I go to the pits, I can't forget to turn off repairs.
The gap to P2 behind is now 1.7 seconds.
In such a little amount of time, I have already a 2-second gap from behind. I ended up not speaking much during the race to keep my focus.
Sector 1 time's okay.
This was actually by far the fastest lap of the race. And that is the reason I left this lap uncut, and I tried to not speak too much over it so we can hear the tires. Here the tires were not overheating yet, and I was able to just go full send.
That last lap was at 1:14.79. Your times are good in all 3 sectors.
Here you can see I'm very confident about the car and the setup. I'm quite happy to be matching my qualification pace during the race. I have a green delta and I'm pushing even harder on this lap, but this might not be a good idea. I need to remember that I will also need to take care of the tires. This corner is very tricky, both with the trail braking and with the throttle input on exit.
The gap to Yukaya behind is increasing. It's now 4.1. Your sector 2 time is quick.
And once again, the gap behind is growing pretty quickly, and I'm going to post another very quick fast lap. Right now, in this point of the race, I'm feeling more and more confident. I already had a very nice qualification session.
Quickest right now. That lap was at 1:14.90. Your times are good in all 3 sectors.
Even though it's was winter time and it was cold. I was trying to get my jacket off me because it was getting very hot for me. Maybe I had the force feedback quite strong and I was starting to feel it on my body, and I didn't want to get too sweaty. And here disaster struck. I was not expecting to have lockup on the rear tires during trail braking, and that sent me into oversteer moment, a slide or a spin.
Come on, Carlos. Keep pushing. We might get it back.
From this point on, this race becomes to me a recovery race. I know these guys in front of me are also pretty quick, and some of them did some very good qualification lap times, and so I can expect them to get up to pace. I already had a 5-second lead and I just wasted all my efforts. Should have been a bit more careful. I was pushing like I was qualifying. And here, going into turn 1 on the next lap, we can see the guy in P1 also pushing too hard into the first corner. He locks up and also spins out his car. See his rear view mirror, you can see he is under pressure looking at the cars behind. And here he just missed his braking point, he was braking way too late, and that ended up making him lock up the rear tires too. This time on this race, the left tires are the ones that are suffering.
Sector 1 time's okay.
I'm already trying to catch up to them as quickly as I can. Big correction there. Right now I'm worried that I might have a bit too much fuel or too little fuel for the race, because sometimes with the pit menus of AMS2 they never tell a very precise amount of fuel for every car, and sometimes the fuel is off by quite a bit.
Gap to P2 ahead is now 0.8.
I'm starting to lose focus. Somehow today on this race I am struggling to keep the same focus that sometimes I have on other races. Sometimes there are days where we just struggle a bit more.
Well done, Carlos. You're looking really good. Come on, keep your focus. P3, your last lap time was at 1:15.86. You match your race pace.
Maybe everyone is struggling with hot tires because the race pace is at the 15-second point 8. Somehow it looks that I unlearned how to do turn 8 midway to the race. And here you see me struggling again. I ended up spending more time behind these guys than what I was initially expecting, because I lost a bit of confidence. Before this I was very confident and very aggressive with the car, but now I've understood that I need to save the tires a bit more and avoid overheating them. Here I'm thinking that I can get close to them, but I don't know if I'll waste too much time on the pit stop, if I'll add fuel or not, and how long will be my pit stop compared to them.
That's 20 minutes to go, 20 minutes.
1/3 of the race has already gone by, and I'm thinking maybe I should just chill a little bit, because it's still 20 minutes. I don't want to be too aggressive, lock up too much the tires and just waste the race, spin the race going off track.
P3, we're setting the pace. You've just done a 1:15.33. Sector 1 time is good.
Here I'm getting dangerously close to Mathieu in P2, and I need to be careful because I don't want to hit this car in front of me and get damage. These cars are already relatively fast, and even small differences in pace will lead to very different and awkward positioning on track. Here once again I'm almost hitting the car in front, and I'm even locking up a little bit to avoid hitting the car because I'm braking a bit too much in this pair. And here I see a gap, there is an opening on the inside line and I go for it. I almost spun out, but we avoided touching the cars, and I caught P2 a little bit off guard on a little bit of out of position place, and now I get the opportunity to overtake. This was very tight and on edge, but I capitalized on the opportunity when he got out of position.
Come on, Carlos. Good stuff. Keep it coming.
This might have been one of my best overtakes on this series so far. Here I locked up, it was very dangerous, I almost spinned our race. I avoided contact at all costs, it would have been really bad if I took out other driver instead of doing the overtake. Here I'm braking, usually I don't brake there, but I wanted to avoid contact with him and I was hesitating for a bit doing the overtake. But now this is not time to celebrate yet, this is not over. René is in P1 in front of me and I know he is also a pretty quick driver and I'll need to fight him for position.
Great driving, keep it up, P2. That was at 16.20.
Last lap ended up being a bit slower because I was fighting for position, and this is what happens when drivers are fighting for the position and they are making compromises on track. The pace is not as fast as if you were trying to post qualifying lap times.
Sector 1 time's okay.
And immediately through the course of this lap you'll see me closing in on him. Now on this corner I know that I'm able to enter faster than him into this corner, and on the next corner I'm doing a little bit of the same as well. I'm getting dangerously close to him, and now it's the time where I'll need to start thinking about the overtake and thinking about how I'll be fighting for the position. I was not expecting him to be slower through that section and ended up having a bit of contact there. On this high-speed corner, the contact could have been the end of the race for me if I had spun out again. Luckily, I was able to react, save it, and live to fight another day. Luckily, I didn't lose too much time or stay too much behind, so the chase goes on. I'm following him really close, and we are going for the start-finish line, the main straight of the circuit, and this is a very long straight. I'm thinking maybe I can get a chance to get close to him. I'm thinking about putting pressure into turn 1 to see what happens if I can get away with the overtake. Here I locked up just like the other guy did in P1 with the inside line, so the same thing that happened to him happened to me, but I was able to avoid spinning the car and I just ended up saving it. This could have been a huge disaster like we've seen happen to a different driver before, but I reacted pretty quickly, just in time. I was even expecting him to take back the P1 place, but instead he let me go, and I was very thankful for that. Now, as you can see, I'm not completely in the clear because he is following me pretty close and I need to be careful to avoid getting overtaken. I'll need to keep pushing as hard as I can without spinning the car, without doing any big mistakes, like locking up the tires and just wasting time. Right now I need to be able to carefully push without spinning the tires, but I need to gain some distance because I'm not sure how the pit stops will go.
Sector 2 time is okay.
If for some reason I forget and leave the repairs on, the engine repair might take too long and I'll lose track position and maybe lose the race in the pits. So I need to keep an eye out for that, and I want to have a little bit of a gap as a buffer to prevent any problems.
Okay, Carlos, don't let this guy distract you. Keep it coming, man. This is great. You're leading, the quickest at the moment. You've just done a 1:15, 1.44. You're 2/10 off the pace in sector 1.
When I see green delta on top to my fastest lap means that I'm actually matching my fastest lap of this race. That was pretty fast in the beginning when the tires were not overheating. But then eventually I have some inconsistencies during the race and some of the laps get botched because of the turn 8, the corner where I spun the car. I lost a ton of confidence in this part of the track, and now I'm going way too carefully through this part of the track compared to the beginning when I was just full sanding it, because I don't want to win the race. And now that we are getting closer to the middle of the race, I won't have time to recover again.
15 minutes left. That's half fuel. You've used half your fuel.
So right as I hit the middle of the race, I'm also hitting half fuel, says my race engineer. Probably I won't need to add any fuel in the mandatory pit stop.
Gap to red A behind is increasing. It's now 1.6. We're currently setting the pace.
I'm slowly but surely increasing the gap from pit 2. I am enjoying very strong force feedback, and of course that helps me save the car like before, but I'm also feeling a bit tired. Here I even had a nice lap, but I ended up botching it again in turn 8. I'm just not really sending it with the car here like I was doing before. We can see that P2 has been falling behind, and maybe P2 and P3 will be fighting for position amongst themselves.
Sector 2 time is okay. That's half distance. We estimate 10 laps of fuel remaining. We're quickest at the moment. Your lap time was 1:15.14. All through sectors are pretty quick.
If all 3 sectors are pretty quick, it means that I'm back to posting some pretty quick lap times and that I'm faster than everybody else.
The gap behind is now 2.5.
I can see that my gap to the players behind is growing, and so I'm pulling away from everyone else. I'm also noticing that René and Mathieu in P2 and P3 are very close to each other right behind me, and there is a chance that they'll be fighting for position right now, and maybe that's what's helping me gain some advantage.
That was at 1:15.42. Sector 2 is 2/10 off the pace. Okay, Carlos. Lap times are pretty consistent.
So I'm finally back in the lead. I eventually had to shut up to focus very seriously. When I want to be very competitive, I struggle to talk over the videos. Somehow it distracts me and I don't have that much brain power left. It was nerve-wracking to have that spin, but hey, he spins, he wins.
You're now in the lead. The gap to red A behind is now 3.5 seconds. You're 10th off the pace in sector 2.
So I could actually have right now close to a 10-second gap if I had not spinned, because I already had 5-second gap.
The lap time was at 1:15.19. We need to find a 10th in sector 2.
Looking at the split for the cars behind, it seems that it is in this lap in turn 1 when René loses the P2 position to Mathieu, and Matt overtakes him, leaving René in P3, and now I'm being followed by Matt in P2. Some oversteer moment here.
You're 10th off the pace in sector 2. This is terrific. Exactly what we came here for. 10 minutes to go. That's 10 minutes left.
2/3 of the race gone, 1/3 of the race to go, only 10 minutes. Getting closer to the finish, now I need to be very clean and I cannot afford any big mistakes. There won't be any time to recover.
That lap was at 1:15.23. Alright Carlos, we're matching race pace. You've just done a 1:15.51.
Here in turn 1 you see some fatigue setting in and I'm struggling a bit more.
The gap to P2 behind is now 5.1. The gap behind is now 5.6 seconds. Sector 1 time is good.
By now the race seems to be settling in. I'm just worrying about the tire wear, the tire temperatures as well, because the track is still a bit hot, and also the engine damage, because these temperatures are actually putting some strain on the engine. I need to be careful with that.
Okay Carlos, you've got about 4 laps of fuel left. We're setting the pace. Your times are good in all 3 sectors. Good consistency. Keep them coming. Acknowledge. acknowledged. Pit stop requested.
I think this is the ideal lap for me to go to the mandatory pit stop because it's not too late. I'm not at the risk of missing the pit stop and getting disqualified, but at the same time I do need a little bit of rest on these tires. Maybe the tires will lose a little bit of temperature while I drive a little bit more slowly on the pit lane, and that will help me do the last minutes of the race a bit more easily.
Okay, Carlos, you should have plenty of space on the exit. We expect to exit the pits in position 3, a few seconds behind P9. Just 5 minutes left. Hold your nerve, we can win this. What's your speed limit in the pits?
This was a little bit of a risky move, but here you see me really full sending it into the pit lane. I was very aggressive on the pit access road before the pit lane, and I even locked up a little bit to comply with the pit speed limit. Here I was really afraid of wasting this race because I didn't have enough fuel, and with just 5 liters to go I decided to add at least 2 liters of fuel just to be safe and have an extra lap.
Go, go! The car behind is pitting.
The pit stop was very quick and very short because I only added a little bit of fuel, and this is a mandatory pit stop. I was even doing a burnout when exiting the pits with the clutch.
Pit exit is clear.
Now on the pit exit I need to be very careful with the white line. This is a safety line and I can only cross over after I'm at full speed. I'm looking at the tires to see if they lost some temperature. How safe will it feel to drive the car for the last few laps?
The window closes in 2 minutes.
The pit window closes in 2 minutes, meaning that this was one of the last 2 laps to go into the pits, and maybe the next lap will be the last possible lap to go into the mandatory pit stop, and after that we will get disqualified if we didn't do the pit stop.
The window closes in 1 minute. P2, P3 is gaining on you. The gap is now 10 seconds.
I'm actually in P2 right now because I've exited the pits in P2. Mathieu in P1 didn't go to the mandatory pit stop yet, but the pit stops are almost closing. I think he will just enter the pits on the last possible few seconds to do his mandatory pit stop without getting disqualified.
The lead car's pitting. The car in front is pitting. Sector 2 time is good.
On the track map I can see him entering the pit road.
Okay, Carlos, the window is closed. Just 2 minutes left, 2 minutes to go. You're leading. Sector 3 is a tenth off the pace.
Finally, I'm back in the lead of the race. I lost the lead because the guy in P1 went to the pits later, and now he will be rejoining behind me in P2 again. I think I had a bigger gap to P2 before entering the pits, around 8 or 9 seconds, and then I lost 1 or 2 seconds, a bit more in the pits. He was actually a little bit faster than me with his pit stop. I don't know why, but this is a tendency that happens with me on almost every pit stop, on every race and car combo. Many times I end up losing time in the pit stop to someone else who does a slightly faster pit stop than me. Anyways, that's why if I am leading the race I always try to push for a little bit of a gap to prevent getting overcut or undercut on the pit stop. I noticed that I'm struggling a little bit with the lap time and maybe the tire temperatures are less than ideal. Here I'm checking their telemetry.
1 more lap, you're P1. We're currently setting the pace. Sector 3 time's okay.
And this is it. This will be the last lap of this race. The timer is already hitting the 0 seconds. So on this lap the race will be finishing and then we'll have the cooldown lap. Once again I was on a fast lap, close to my fastest lap time, but on turn 8 I end up losing a little bit of lap time, being very conservative with the throttle and avoiding spinning the car again. This was a great track and car combination because this combination races in real life and the settings for the race were really nice. Congratulations to all the drivers in this race for racing cleanly, and a special thanks for the organizer Steve, who also races under the nickname of Zingy in AMS2. Whoa, this was a really tough race, but I won it.
Well done, Carlos. Great win. You deserved that today.
What a great race, man. There were some really fast drivers in the first 4 or 5 positions of this grid. Everything had to be on point regarding my setup and my strategy, and even a consistent performance. The mistake I had with the spinning almost cost me the race, and if I didn't recover well and quickly, I could have lost the win of the race because of that single mistake. Juka ended up in P6 because he had a really bad spin into turn 1, even though he was one of the fastest drivers in qualifying and in the race. So here we have, guys, the updated stats for this series, and here I have the fastest lap time. I'm curious to see if I can get into some more details about this. So these were the race details, let's see. I was able to finish 8 seconds ahead, and these were the laps that I was posting during the race. So here I have all the detailed information regarding each sector and each lap time. So I'm going to be checking my driver's performance. Once again, I'm setting the fastest sectors ever on Racecraft Online for this current track combo. Here, I just didn't lead all the time, all the laps, because I ended up spinning. Still, I gained some safety rating and some consistency. So overall, I'm quite happy with these results. And the UI on Racecraft Online is very clean, very easy to navigate these things. If you search around, you'll find lots of interesting details. The only thing missing for me is just a messaging board to exchange some ideas with my fellow sim racers, and to give advice and ask for advice regarding the setups, the radiator opening to avoid blowing engines up, stuff like that. So here it is, guys, another AMS2 race online in Racecraft Online against some really fast and competitive drivers in this simulator. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave your comments, likes and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm sorry for my voice, I'm with a little bit of a flu. Have a great day, guys. See you on the racetrack.